Howdy, folks, and welcome to episode 138 Terror of Terrain. We're going to be talking about terrain, and we're going to talk about terrain with Mr. McMurray. Thank you, sir. How are you?
What's up, man?
So, do we got you for the whole time or just part of the time tonight?
Most of the time,
Most of the time. Outstanding.
but
Outstanding.
relatively on time this week, which is nice.
Hey, you were like 13 seconds after, it went live. So, hey, you're good.
What do we got this week, Chris? We got terrain.
We're talking about terrain, and kind of what brought that to mind most recently is again, it's a topic that Telemachus had forwarded to me, and I thought, you know what? I've played on some really, really good tables. I've played on some really, really bad tables. I've had both good and bad tables personally. And with the new project that Jay and I are getting into, I thought it would be a, a really good time to talk about it. So here we are. Charles was in here early saying, "Howdy, partners." Telemachus gives us a hooray with some sort of emoji that doesn't come across on StreamYard, but I guess it shows up on the YouTubes. It's a blue penguin waving with a tear or some shit. I don't know. And then Meandering Mike says, "Steam or diesel trains?" Nice, nice. I'm all about us. I'm all about steam trains and early, like late 40s, early 50s diesels. That's my wheelhouse when it comes to trains. Um, I love the semi what's it called, semi streamlined steam engines of the 30s and 40s, and then of course you get like the FA ones and the PA ones from Alco, or the E8s uh, from EMD Electromotive Division. So, but we're not here to talk about trains. We're here to talk about terrains. So, I don't know of any current sales going on over at Wiley. However, in just less than a month, we do have Wiley Wargaming Weekend coming up. If you are in the Kansas City area the first weekend of December, buy a ticket, stop by. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. If you are on the Wiley uh, Games Fistful of Lead Facebook group, uh, Steve has been posting cards and pictures of miniatures for the last Action Hero game that is going to be put on. That is looking like it's going to be a downright blast. Today he put out Mr. T. So, and of course, speaking of terrain, his tables are always super impressive. The miniatures are great. The terrain, in some cases, sometimes is even better, but it just goes together really well. So again, first week in December, December 2nd, from starting at 11 a.m. until later. We got Wiley Wargaming Weekend going on. And if you can't make it, but you still want to help support the cause, because we are still looking to raise money for March to Victory. Tickets $15. Even if you can't show up, but you want to throw some cash at it, that's a good way to do it. So, and that money is completely separate from the rest of Wiley Games stuff. So, What scale is Choo Choo Terrain? Well, there's a lot of different scales in Choo Choo Terrain. I prefer in scale, but that's just me. So, what have you been up to, Mr. McMurray?
Oh, just kind of all kinds of stuff, painted up a bunch of 2400 pre-dreadnoughts.
Nice.
For kind of that. Well, what these are mostly Spanish-American War stuff. So there's a bunch of Spanish, bunch of Americans, a couple Royal Navy vessels, being an early HMS Hood and Diadem, the protected cruiser, I believe.
Okay.
As well as, like I said, some American pre-dreadnought era stuff, some Spanish pre-dreadnought era stuff.
Very cool.
And that's what I was doing for the most part. I got a game all prepped up and ready to rock, with the exception of changing cards over. I made a bunch of cards for a Fistful of Lead game using the card template that has the stats on one side and the picture on the back side.
Okay.
Which is really awesome when you've got very distinct characters that you've got Indiana Jones and then Short Round and somebody like that. That's super cool. But when it's a bunch of Germans and a bunch of British guys, it's a little harder to do, so I have to remake those cards using cards that have the picture on the same side as the stats so that you can see who you're looking at and what they can do at the same time, which is fine.
Right. Okay.
I just wasn't thinking about it, so I now get to redo those, but that's okay. Luckily, all the templates are free and available, and yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Hexy's in the house asking, what is the latest thing Wiley has put out? And if I'm not mistaken, that is Fistful of Lead Reloaded 2nd edition.
Very likely, especially in terms of like a full book.
Yeah, that's the most recent book, along with the upgrade cards that went with it. So there you have it. And then he also says, thumb it, everybody. Yeah, so smack the thumbs up. All of y'all are already subscribed. Speaking of which, I think, if I'm not mistaken, last time I checked, I was at 378.
Look at you go, man.
Yeah, so we are what? We're finally starting to climb again. We're 22 away from 400. So there you go. If my internet was better, I would be putting out some more stuff other than the shows, but even shorts take 30, 45 minutes to upload, so it's ridiculous. So, but yeah, I'm hoping to be able to order at least my new FDM printer in the next week or so. I don't know if because I'm looking at the Neptune 4 Pro, and I don't know if it's going to get any cheaper than it is right now at $299. I'm not sure. What do you think, McMurray?
So they're always real upfront about the fact that this is a good sale, but then that their Black Friday sale is going to be bigger, which I feel like they used to like sell off more stock that didn't sell in this sale.
Right.
So I don't know, man. Because Elegoo's even been real honest with their advertising this year that the Black Friday sale is going to be deeper discounts than the current one. Which, granted, the current sale, depending on what you're looking at, is like 40 to 45 to 50% off, which is kind of hard to
Yeah.
beat. It's a little ridiculous when you come right out and look at it, but yeah.
So right now, the Neptune 4 Pro at $299 is $30 off the regular price. So it's only a 10% discount. The real big sale is on the Neptune 3 Pro. It had been retailing at $300. They've got it now down to $199. So the reason I'm going for the Neptune, I'm wanting to go with the Neptune 4 Pro over the 3 Pro is it's faster and better resolution. So, but I got to think, is being that much faster worth the extra $100?
Is it just
That's
that,
the real
or
question.
is it a like mono whatever versus a multi-light screen or whatever?
Well, remember the Neptune is an FDM printer.
Oh, I'm sorry. Duh. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah.
I'm used to thinking about resin printers where you got to think of. Yeah. Anyways. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, actually, here's a question, Chris. Are all the basic cards formatted for back and front?
That's a good question. I don't know.
You're good.
Fistful of lead. You're looking at the unit cards,
Yeah.
like for Galactic Heroes or what have you. Wasteland Warriors is front and back.
Yeah, correct. So is Tales of Horror, Horse and Musket, and Core.
Yeah. Galactic Heroes is not.
Galactic Heroes is not?
Yeah. Nor is Starfighters.
Oh, no, Starfighters isn't, but Starfighters has all the extra stuff on it, too.
Right. So, yeah.
Looks like I'm going to download the Galactic Heroes cards.
Yeah, Galactic Heroes is its name at the top, shooting close combat off to the left, a small, like 1 inch by 1 inch square for a photo, and then the traits in a box below that, and then the weapons at the very bottom.
Yeah.
To give you an idea of what they look like, I can show you right here.
Oh, you're good. I think, nope, that's the Operation Ragnarok. Those are the pre-made cards.
Present. Share screen. 40K crew. There you go. That's what they look like.
Yep, I got them.
So.
Item added.
That's that.
Check out. No idea how that's not already on here, but that's okay.
Telemachus and Charles have both verified they've thumbed it. The Android Mike says I go up and down in strange spurts. I was up to 572, down to 569, back up to 572. Now it makes no sense to me. It's all those damn Russian bots. Hexy says both of his printers are working hard right now.
Yeah,
And
Justin's printing a ton of 15 millimeter World War II stuff, which is pretty cool. It's always good
nice.
to
And
get
then
dabbling in miniatures.
Eric's
Quite good at it.
yeah, Eric's in the house saying sup all. Sup, sir. How you doing? Glad to have you here. So yeah, I'm up in the air as to exactly what, like I said, for the real question is the 4 that much better? Is the 4 Pro that much better than the 3 Pro? They've got the same build area. 225 by 225 millimeters, so basically about 8 3/4 by 8 3/4. I think the real difference is the speed.
Is the height of that build area different as well, or am I thinking of two different printers?
265. Actually, the 3 Pro has a taller at 280 compared to 265, so 15 millimeters. Not that that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Wait a second. Yeah. 265 to 280. Yeah, it's just 15 millimeters. So not a huge difference. That's less than 2/3 of an inch. So not a huge difference there. So like I said, the real difference is speed to which it prints.
Well, are you somebody who usually plans out in advance enough to make the speed not matter, or are you somebody who tends to procrastinate so that speed's going to be important?
Do you want the answer that I wish it was, or do you want the truth?
No, I mean I already know the answer. That's why I asked.
I'd like to be the guy who plans it out, but I'm not.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, like I said, the big difference is the 3 Pro is 180 millimeters per second. The Neptune 4 Pro is 500 millimeters, up to 500 millimeters per second.
So that's not a
that's
not a little difference. That's a big difference.
Right. Well, they only recommend to do it 250.
What's the recommended for the other one? If it can go 180, what's the recommended?
They don't have recommended. I suspect it's probably below 150, so you're still 100 millimeters per second faster on the recommended speed.
That's not an insignificant amount. Like,
no, it's not. No,
that's still like doubling the time or having the time that it's going to take you to do stuff. Like that's
the other difference is that the 3 Pro requires you to use an SD card, whereas the 4 Pro uses USB.
That would also, I would say, would be a very, very large determining factor.
Yeah, because I do have an SD card reader on my dock on my MacBook Pro, but do I really want to have to dick with it?
Nope.
You know, my other printer is USB. You know, yeah. Also, the auto leveling. Oh, here's the other big one. Auto leveling. The 3 Pro is a 36 point auto leveling, whereas so it's basically a 6 point by 6 point on the build plate. The 4 Pro is 121 point, 11 by 11. So it's you can fine tune the leveling much better. So yeah, I'm thinking
I would probably cough up the extra, knowing that at some point in time you're going to get frustrated and wish you'd coughed up the extra, and then cough up the extra anyways.
Yeah.
Kind of seems
So
like one of those buy once, cry once type moments.
exactly. So I'm looking to pick that one up, and then I'm also looking to pick up the Mars 3 4K. The difference, and that right now that's only $140. It retails at $320. So that's a huge amount of savings there. And then I've kind of figured the only difference between the Mars 3 4K and the Mars 3 Pro 4K, $20 difference in price. The Mars 3 Pro 4K comes with the air filter.
I'm not going to lie. I've always worried about that getting like extra clogged and fucking something up. I've never put an air filter on mine. You can have the one off of mine. Buy the one that doesn't have it.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
I'm about to say, I've always worried that I was going to somehow goof that up, and so I haven't ever put it on anything.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Here's the question: are the Galactic Heroes cards playing card sized?
They should be, yes.
Because it's 4 to a page, and the other ones are all 4 to a page also. But the other ones are 4 to a page, and you have to fold them in half.
They should be. They should be playing card size. Let's take a look here. Fistful of lead. Let's do this real quick. Oh, excuse me. I'm printing one out right now, or printing out a sheet. So I'm hoping I might wait to see if that 4 Pro goes down in price any.
I got you.
In the next couple of weeks, maybe. I don't know. Maybe. So I made mention of a new project that Jay and I are starting.
Yes.
Because we want to seriously start taking our fun seriously. We've said this for the last 4.5 years since I moved out here. We've lived basically a mile apart from each other. We don't nearly get enough gaming in together as we should or want to. So we want to start taking our gaming seriously. I know what's going on here. Why are you being a jerk? Printer. Bear with me, guys. Clear jam and then press OK. Jam in tray 2.
We're about to watch Chris have his very own little office space issue. Okay, where are my cards? I think I left my cards, some of the cards.
Nothing back there. Okay, that's good. Take the cardstock out and put in this regular paper. There we go. PC love letter. What the fuck's that supposed to mean?
Exactly. There is no paper jam.
Walkabout Games, howdy. How are you, sir?
Mr. Chris. Chris of the
Telemachus.
Canadians.
Maynard Mike says, fun is serious business. Jay, then Chris Long says, Jay is pretty serious, seriously. Telemachus says, so fist fight in the parking lot type serious. And then Chris Long is hi-ho guys. And all's good, which is good.
I'm happy somebody
it's just,
immediately jumped to fist fight in the parking lot. You guys make me proud.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's just like I said, we live a mile away from each other, and we don't game near as often as we want to.
Oh yeah, it's disgusting. I don't understand why you guys don't do that.
For the last couple of months, there's been some serious extenuating circumstances, to be fair.
It happens.
With him, him not living in his house for one.
Well, yeah, his house just deciding to catch on fire is certainly
so that does put a damper on things. Here we go. So yeah, they're regular. They're card sized.
Okay. Got 37 of these damn things. I can't. Yeah, they're 2.5 by 3.5. Outstanding.
So, and we've each, we both have obviously differing likes and dislikes in gaming. But we want to do something together. So we have decided that we're going to get into ACW, American Civil War.
It's a pretty fun genre, man. Not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, and what we're looking at we're going to be looking at far Western theater / Trans-Mississippi. That's going to be our focus for the units that we're going to create to game. So we're going to be looking at stuff at like Shiloh and Fort Donelson and doing some Mississippi River gunboat battles, Wilson's Creek, Pea Ridge, that type of stuff.
Nice.
So Chris Long says, Chris, my brother, and I are in the same boat gaming wise and in serious discussions to game more. Telemachus says, time to kick the world in the ass and start slinging some dice. What you're slinging there is facts, buddy. Eric says, I'm jumping in and out of here. What are those cards you're working on for, Chris? So the ones that I showed up on the display, those were some play testing of the Grimdark stuff that Marshall had put together. It's a PDF that you can, I think it's $5.
What, the Grimdark book?
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so I've got a crap ton of 40K stuff. Jay's got a crap ton of 40K stuff.
I think just about everybody does, to be honest with you.
What's that?
But I think just about everybody does, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Well, it's a very of our own shame.
We kind of like the universe, but we're not exactly happy about the game. So if we could, use the Grimdark Codex for Fistful of Lead, Galactic Heroes, and play with our toys, why not? Give it a shot.
I was going to say, the other nice thing is that, like, what I'm doing right now, I enjoy doing. Right, so coming up with stats and traits and everything for guys, and I take that back. I'm not really doing that right now. I'm copying them over onto a different card, or onto different cards. But point is, I enjoy doing that. I do it quite frequently, on a large scale. 4 times a year for the past several years, right? Just for Wiley convention games, or just for convention games. That said, it's nice to just have stuff already done for you sometimes.
Yeah. So, yeah, we've decided to go 15 millimeter with our ACW stuff. To start off, he is going to build Union forces. I'm going to build Confederate forces. Part of the reason why we're looking at Shiloh is obviously we've got that familial connection there. We had 2 ancestors fight in that. Well, one of them fought in that battle. Another one did his damned best to save lives at that battle. Both on the Union side. I am sure if we go digging on the other side of the family, we would probably find some Confederate stuff, Confederate participants. But for now, I'm going to be looking to do the Texas regiments for obvious reasons.
Were there many Texas regiments at Shiloh?
Don't know, but the great thing is they all wore gray.
No, I got you. You said you were doing Shiloh, then you said.
Well, no, it's and if it's not the Texas regiment, then I'll figure out what regiments were there at Shiloh and work with those. So,
I mean, on the bright side, there were dozens and dozens and dozens. So,
right. Originally, I had thought about doing 6 millimeter, but since we are looking to start with Sharps practice and Rebels and Patriots, we decided to go to 15 and individual base them. And then if we need move trays, create move trays that we can put our individually based dudes into those bases. So, hey, Hissy, how you doing, buddy? Walkabout says he's got a crap ton of 15 millimeter 40K. I will tell you,
I know somebody like that too.
Yeah, and it looks amazing. And what makes it really amazing is the terrain that he has. Speaking of the topic of the night.
Oh, I thought you were talking about. Yeah, I was talking about me. I've got an ungodly amount of fucking 15 millimeter guard that I did up, and then.
Oh yeah. Yep. So he also Jay has already started to do some test printing. He actually resin printed a house. I don't remember from who he said.
Escus.
Yes. Yeah. The house was from Escus. The infantry was from somebody else. Both on.
Turner.
Yeah, Turner. He did say that he was going to have to make the Turner figures bigger, print them at a slightly bigger scale to fit with the house.
Oh, I
So,
gotcha. That makes sense.
yeah. So, but we're also going to be looking at playing with Sharp Practice, I should say, um, by Two Fat Lardies, which is by all accounts my second favorite game writing company. So, because they make great games.
Correct.
You know? So talking about terrain, to me, terrain is an important feature of the hobby. I know some people uh, are okay with, the little cutout felt pieces and whatnot, and it's a good place to start. And I'm not gonna poo poo on you for uh, being somebody that puts that out. Shit, I put out that stuff myself, but I do augment it with actual trees or little hedges that I've made. So I'm not going to say that you're a horrible person, especially for some of the if they're playing like DBA, because you're on a 2 foot by 2 foot play surface, and you're really not going to have a whole lot of terrain there anyway. Um, but if you want to differentiate, open fields compared to plowed fields or what have you, yeah, throw out a little bit of felt or that foam stuff you can get at the hobby center, and that's okay. I don't have a problem with that. Um, People will go out and they will buy their terrain already made and painted. I've got a couple of like that. I picked up the ruined church and the desert fort from Gale Force 9. Both of them are really nice. The ruined church goes well with the World War II Southern France, Italy / Southern France motif that I like to play in. Um, I've not really used the fort much, uh, but I got it for a song. I think I paid 35 bucks for it, and I think it would that originally go for back shit a long ass time ago at this point. I think that's shit 15 years ago. I think it went for $100 retail. So, and there were a lot of companies out there that made resin models of different terrain pieces and would even have them already painted for you when you bought them. You could either buy them painted or you could buy them unpainted for a lesser amount.
I will say Miniature Building Authority still does that, I believe.
What's that?
I think Miniature Building Authority still does that.
Yeah. I've got a lot. Last week I showed off a couple of my models, the Cryomech domes. That was those were all purchased by my brother at some point in time back in the millennia ago, it seems like, and uh, got those painted up, and still have more that are still unpainted, even 25 plus years ago from when he got them. And then, of course, we've got on the other end the exact opposite of that is we got War Mutt, and his kind doing. And I don't like the term trash terrain.
Upcycled.
Exactly, it's upcycled terrain. Taking bits and pieces of plastic and tins and whatnot from packaging and cleaning it up, putting it together, painting it up, and making it look really awesome. Um, I know there was this one guy on the YouTubes that just laid into people like that and saying it was dumb or stupid or whatever. Hey, Steve, how you doing, buddy?
I was one of those really, really angry, just bitter people who was looking to scream about something, and
Yeah.
trash train is what he found, I guess, that day. Because it was like, what do you think your wife's going to think about that? It's like, she's probably going to be happier than every other wargamer's wife who goes out and spends $40 on a fucking pre-painted building. Like, first
Exactly.
off, shut up. Second off, shut the fuck up again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Who was that? That was Solo something or other. Solo,
Yeah.
some sort of solo gamer. And it was like, well, that makes actually a lot of sense. Okay.
Yes. Solo dipshit.
I wouldn't want to play with either. As opposed to Steve, who's always legitimately a delight to play with.
Always a great guy to play with. And then you've got the newest way of creating terrain, and that's with the 3D printers. And I can tell you they make some really good STLs out there. If you spent any amount of time watching the show after I've or McMurray have been over to Kansas City to play games with Wiley and Steve, you've seen the Star Wars table and
The COVID Prime, baby.
Yeah, COVID Prime. That is probably one of the best looking tables I've ever seen, and it is, except for a very few couple of, like, I think one building on
You've
that
got those
entire
two
table.
that aren't 3D printed.
Yeah.
And honestly,
great.
I don't know if he made them beforehand or if it just synced up that well that it's honestly very hard to tell aesthetically the difference, which is always one of those things I really like to see in a table with terrain. I don't really like sci-fi gaming that much at all, but COVID Prime is always a beautiful table to play on that I'm delighted to play on.
Yeah. Well, it also helps that it's Steve and Jay.
Well, it's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, very, very. It's a gorgeous table, and he does a great job with it. The games are always fun.
Yeah. Steve says Jay's printer was on point for that set. Yes, it was. And then you've also got the guys that Jay and Steve either still work with the guy or worked with him, and he is now retired, that handcrafted amazing set pieces also. So like if you saw from the most recent game day in October for the spooky games, we were on Terror Island again, and the
case in here is gorgeous.
Yeah, the waterfall into the pool, Famunda Falls, that was all handcrafted out of blue foam and poured resin to make the water and the waterfall, and that's old school model building right there.
I did kind of the proof of concept of that with the big Mars terrain that I built.
Yeah.
I'm still debating.
It looks good, man. Your stuff looks good too. I like it.
I appreciate that, and I mean, was a lot of time on that Mars stuff. It was debating like trying to make a mine sort of thing, or like a sci-fi cave sort of thing, or like tunnels, because I've got those. I painted up all of Thomas Foss's rabbits also, and so I mean rabbits need warrens, right?
Exactly.
And so it was
Exactly.
And when I was younger, I made a bunch of tunnels for 40K crap back in the day.
Yeah.
And they weren't, I mean, they were super basic. I took a bunch of like, flat, like flat packs, like the things you get a case of like canned fruit or whatever on in the grocery store.
Yeah.
Because
The cardboard.
my buddy worked at Schnucks, and so we took a ton of those and we just cut them up. So then we already had like the walls up and everything like that, and then they had a bunch of corners also that we had done, because you just cut the corner of the box and you angle it. But they looked like garbage, dude. They looked terrible.
Yeah, but to start off,
oh, they worked great. We spray painted them black and then spray painted them gray over that, so it was all the 40K, Space Hulk crap that we needed.
Yeah.
But I've always wanted to go back and redo that sort of thing with cave terrain.
So your friend there is blue/pink insulation foam.
No, yeah. Again, that's what I did with the.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for your Mars. Yeah.
Yeah, and it came out well. I like it. I need to remember to do like.
It looks really good.
I need to remember to do like 8 layers of Mod Podge on top of it, because ultimately that's what sealed it in for me and got it done.
Yeah. Yes, Steve. I am for a fact going to be there Saturday the 2nd. I am fairly certain McMurray is going to be there for Saturday the 2nd as well.
I'm working on it. That's my work weekend. I don't know.
Fingers are crossed.
Yeah,
fingers are crossed. I am definitely going to be there because I'm going to be running the armor game. So, and then Charles says Legos make great buildings and walls. The problem is the granddaughters keep taking the blocks back. Guess I'll have to buy my own. Straight up fact right there. And says the waterfall was hot glue on a sheet of acetate.
Yeah.
That's even more impressive.
Yeah, it's old school, man. That's how, yeah.
That is seriously impressive there. So, the thing that I'm gonna look at getting started when I get my Neptune again is I'm gonna start printing for the Tantive 4 again. Because I do want to get an entire 4 foot by 8 foot table of Tantive 4 hallways.
Yeah, like that was my point with that, is that I know how I would like to do that, and I know that it would drive me absolutely nuts to not. I know that being able to print things twice as quickly when I like to work in batches would be real clutch.
Yeah, because my old printer, which granted was probably 10 years old when it decided to immolate itself. It took 16 hours for one of those squares.
Yeah. Granted, you probably could have printed like 8 of them on the bed, but yeah. That print area was insanity.
But still, whether I printed 8 or not, it still would take 16 hours for one of these.
No. I know. I'm saying, but the cool trade-off there was, I think Tim printed me a ship or a boat that was like 16 inches long at one point in time. He just let it work for like a day and a half or 2 days.
Right.
So those machines were the epitome of set it and forget it, man.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that I can set this sucker up to blaze through at about 200 millimeters per second and get this down to a decent amount of time.
See, that's wild. I had no idea that there were FDMs out there that would print that quickly at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. 500 millimeters per second is fast.
That's freakishly fast. So that's moving I mean, Jesus Christ. Think about it. 105 millimeters is 4 inches.
So 500 millimeters.
That's 20. There's no way. 500 millimeters a second. That's over a foot.
That is 19 3/4 inches long.
Yeah.
Now, the quality.
I just imagine how fast that plate would have to be moving.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. So, but they suggest 250, which is
still fast. That's like
9
9
7/8 inches.
Yeah, that's pretty close with almost 10 inches.
So we're looking here. This piece here, it's 13 millimeters to a side, and no, not 13 millimeters, 130 millimeters.
There you go.
To a side by 54 millimeters tall. So I'm thinking this honestly, probably not going to take that
just
long.
Open up whatever your slicer is and pull that thing up and set it for.
Oh yeah, I could do that.
That's the easiest way to not. Then we aren't speculating or anything. We just know.
Yeah. So, let's see. Walkabout says, I'm FDM printing a frame for my VTT frame for my RPG table. I don't know what a VTT is, so.
Is that
very
Canadian?
Very tough terrain?
What was I would say? That sounds like the difference that I ran into when I went from my old Anycubic to the Mars 2 Pro, just in terms of this freakish speed advantage.
Yeah.
That came out of it, where instead of, setting a layer to bake for 5 seconds, it was 2 or 2.1 seconds.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, you still have all the movement time, and that's still fixed, but you're still almost sawing the time that it takes to print something in half. That was a reasonable difference. It was quite delightful, which makes sense. Again, when you bump up from one thing into a machine or whatever else that's drastically newer, it makes sense. But yeah.
And of course, Chitubox does not have any Neptune printers on it.
Do you usually use Chitubox? I don't know, because Jeff was talking about using something different for his FDM printers.
Well, it's what Elegoo suggests.
I wonder if you need
what comes bundled. What's that?
I wonder if there's a newer version of Chitubox.
Probably.
Because I had to do that to get my Saturn II in there.
Well, I mean, it's got the Saturn. It's got the Saturn II.
My Saturn S.
Saturn III. It's got the Saturn 8K, the Saturn S.
I'm just saying, if there might be a new version of it or something like that.
Could be, yeah. But it's weird because it doesn't have any of. All of these are interesting. All of the printers here are resin printers.
Yep.
They don't have any FDM printers on there. Huh.
Like I said, I know Jeff was saying he had to use a different slicer.
I think Brother Jay was telling me that it uses a proprietary Chitu box.
Oh, okay.
Or I shouldn't say proprietary, a Chitu box designed specifically for that's designed specifically for the Neptune. Charles says, got 3 structures for my 15mm Cowboys that need assembly. Most of my buildings are cardstock that come with that came with a tombstone set. And see, that's another thing that's out there is the cardstock and MDF buildings, which are pretty cool too. I'm not gonna lie. They can do some pretty cool stuff with MDF. The problem with MDF now is that it's starting to get expensive. It didn't used to be. It used to be a good way of getting buildings, decent buildings on the cheap, especially if they're going to be like old style wooden buildings, like for like Wild West type stuff. And Sarissa Precision was, in my opinion, probably the best out there.
I mean, Sarissa. So I mean, I think part of the issue that, or part of the reasoning behind stuff getting more expensive, aside from just basic inflation boning all of us, is that they're really upping the kind of value that you get out of MDF nowadays, in terms of they're adding all the because for the longest time, the complaint about MDF is, oh well, everything's flat, there's no extras, there's no, which when you're doing stuff like World War II urban stuff, like you're doing Stalingrad, it's perfect because you don't have to worry about it. It's all flat, jacked up, block construction, whatever. There you go, done.
Right.
But so then companies took that and were like, okay, well, how can we add extra stuff to this? And the only way to add extra stuff is to increase the number of sheets and the small detail, which increases the amount of time that your cutter's printing and all that nonsense. So then it makes sense that, just aside from basic economic reasons, that it would have to be more expensive. Again, talking about that inflation, that, oh yeah, okay, it's getting more expensive. We're having to do more. They're having to add more to things and do all that stuff, which I'm not mad about. Like, I miss the stuff being dirt cheap too. And there's still a lot of places that are really cheap when you're getting stuff that's just, again, the basic like framework of buildings or ruins. You can still find those dirt cheap. But yeah, I mean, people have certainly taken the market into account and said, oh, okay, people are really looking for some extra stuff here. What are we going to do? Which, whatever, such is life. Got to do what you got to do. But I miss those days too. Those were nice old days. But yeah.
Oh,
go
ahead.
I used to not be able to stand MDF. Years ago when people first started making MDF buildings, that would drive me nuts. Like, I spent more on, like the Old Glory resin stuff than I needed to if I had bought MDF, but it's because it drove me absolutely nutty that I couldn't, the two-dimensional aspect of it drove me up the wall.
Yeah.
Which, whatever, that's how it works sometimes, but yeah, crap. Manfred.
VTT is virtual tabletop.
Oh,
he's got a 42-inch flat screen TV, and it's going to sit horizontally in that table, and he'll use his computer to bring up maps on it, and then the players will just move their minis on top of that screen.
That is a larger TV than I have in my living room. So that's cool.
I used to have a 42-inch TV. I now have a 65-inch TV in
Well,
my
this
bed,
guy
or
over
not
here.
my bedroom. Well, I got it for. I got it for what I think was a song. I got it for $400.
It's fair.
Our 55-inch Samsung had a couple bright spots down in the lower left-hand corner that were distracting, but not so much that I couldn't deal with it. But we were at Walmart a couple of weeks ago, and Donna, I was just walking through the electronics aisle, going between the hardware section and the craft section, the sewing section that Donna was in, and she caught up with me while I was kind of walking by it, and she said, "That's a 65-inch TV for $400." I said, "Yeah, let's get it." Go, okay, I won't argue.
Fair.
If you're willing to
Put up with it.
yeah. Now we did have to scoot the seats all the way forward and lean them all the way to where they were damn near perpendicular to drive home. So I was like this.
Yeah, imagine if you were still driving the Fiat.
Yeah, that wouldn't have happened.
It would have been bigger than the wheelbase on your car.
Yes, it would have. No lies detected. But yeah, we got it home, unpacked it, and we were good to go. We did run into a problem with the Samsung soundbar. We could get it plugged in without a problem. The problem was neither the Apple TV remote or the or the Vizio remote control, because we bought a Vizio TV, wouldn't change the volume on the sound bar. So we would have to get up, find the up down volume button on the side of the sound bar, and manually change. Like yeah, let's look to see what we can get for a new sound bar too. So be it. Mini Warmuts in the house. We talked about you and your upscale terrain. They misspelled the topic television instead of terrain. Now, we were talking about how Walkabout is using a 42-inch television for maps for his role-playing games, which is kind of like terrain.
Correct. Are we going to get into, talking about differing, sorts of terrain, differing, like, what are we looking at? Are you all about, do games have to have a shitload of terrain for you, Chris? Or is that a, well, maybe not sort of thing?
It depends. It depends on what the game is. So, for instance, I put a fair amount of terrain on my 15 millimeter World War II tanks, doing What a Tanker. I want some pretty good, long lines of sight, but I also don't want it to just be, flat ping pong table where everybody gets to shoot everybody from any position. So I do put a fair amount of blocking terrain out there. But if it's if I was to do um, Battle of Hoth from Empire Strikes Back, not a whole lot of terrain there. I mean, it's pretty wide open, uh, snow fields of Norway there. So, up, not upscale terrain. What did you call it? Not trash terrain, but
Upcycled.
upcycle terrain. Warmut, upcycle terrain.
Which honestly, a bunch of my stuff is too. Like,
Yeah,
I'm not
it's great
going to
stuff.
buy. I don't buy plastic card and shit. I cut up cereal boxes and whatnot. Just like I'm not buying the like sheet styrene when all I'm doing is cutting walls for a house out. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
If I'm, that I'm not destitute, but at the same time, there's far better uses of, there's places where I would rather put my hard-earned shekels.
exactly. Like,
So miniatures and
miniatures.
shit like that. Gas to go play games, stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
So that's kind of my point. And I also have, again, everybody likes playing. Let's be honest here. Everybody likes playing on a table that's got a ton of really cool looking terrain on it, and it looks awesome. But at the same time, some of my favorite games have no terrain other than a water mat. So, like,
Yeah.
it's kind of one of those. Just like when you're playing, air combat or space combat, it's very rare that you necessarily have a whole lot of stuff rolling around on your space table. Maybe you'll have some asteroids or something, but yeah, so it's just stuff to keep in mind, I guess. Again, none of these are also to say that you can't play. Well, let's put it this way. Sometimes at least in my mind, sometimes if the budget is limited, I tend to spend money on tools to make terrain than I do. I'd rather buy a bunch of tools to make a bunch of terrain out of things I can find locally or source for free than I would on buying one or two, real expensive or just, one or two kits, right? Because for the $40, $60, $70 sometimes, depending on your scale, you're going to spend on a couple of houses. You can get a lot of stuff that you'll then be able to build a lot of, other things or other pieces of terrain, and then be able to use to build differing things, whether it's other hobby stuff or whatnot. But like all those, that was here, wasn't it? Where we built the rabbit houses.
Yeah.
And, I built one in 20 minutes or whatever. And all I did was a box cutter, hot glue, and then a CD for a base and cereal box, right?
Yeah.
And is it going to stack up with the, your old Games Workshop stores Hobbit hole board? No. Did it take 20 minutes? Is it simple and understandable to paint up? And is it also incredibly doable to then create durable and functioning long-term use war games terrain? Yes.
Yep. Exactly.
Right. And again, the nice part about that is that the tools required for that are $10 to $15 maybe total.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if you go to, Michael's, you're going to spend $5 on the glue gun, $5 on a huge bag of glue sticks. And then for
that
$5
will last forever.
Yeah, and for $5 you can probably get a couple box cutters, or you can go to the dollar store, and for $1.25 now, because it's not Dollar General anymore, it's $1.25 General.
Well, he got
can-
promoted.
Well, that's fair. But my point is, you can get one of those packs that's got like 2 big and 2 small box cutters in it, and then you're set for, again, a period of years. And then you
Yeah,
can use that
exactly.
stuff for everything. Even if you include buying a stack of CDs, that's another $10 or something, and then you got bases forever. I'm not particularly fond of basing terrain and stuff on cardboard, because you got a warp issue. But at the same time, if you've got old ceiling tiles, or old floor tiles, awesome.
Yeah.
Take a little bit more to cut, but not, again, it's nothing wild. Also, they come in 12 by 12 sections. So if you're looking to make, an urban board or something like that, it's not hard. That's the epitome of, okay, here we go. Either I can make these to immediately butt up against each other, or I can use these as blocks and I can put down a black cloth underneath, and then I've got asphalt roads, and then I got sidewalk, and each of these things I can build sidewalk and buildings onto, and there we go. So I mean, if you're limited on your time and your creativity and whatnot, and you've got the money, then it's kind of like everything else where you got the triangle, right?
Yeah.
Right, of your 3 things, and you can choose what you've got. If you don't have a whole lot of time to build terrain, or a whole lot of patience to build terrain or whatnot, but you've got the money to buy terrain, man. Who cares? Buy pre-built, painted terrain. If you got the money and the time, and that's what you want to spend your money and time on, get after it, man. But for me, I kind of like building terrain. I take that back. I kind of like scrap building terrain, because sometimes building
Right.
MDF can get really frustrating, right? Because sometimes you've got instructions that aren't the easiest to understand. Sometimes the fit isn't super great, which is a whole lot less of a problem now than it used to be, right? I don't know if you remember, or if you had too much experience in the early days of people making MDF terrain, man. Holy smoly. It used to be standard that, and that's another reason why I really didn't like MDF terrain, but it used to be pretty standard that if you were building MDF terrain, man, you better have some sandpaper and all this other stuff, which really bugged me, because then also the standard recommendation was always still to put it together with PVA or wood glue.
Yep.
Which is just one of those, hell no. If I'm cutting all the tabs off these things because they're pissing me off so much, I'm gluing this shit together with cyanoacrylate, and that's the end of it. Which, honestly, I still usually put my MDF together with cyanoacrylate. I use a real thin cyanoacrylate so it'll soak into the terrain, and it holds like crazy. Like, you can't get it apart. It works frustratingly
really
well sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Which is not by any means what any manufacturer will tell you to do. I'm not telling you should do that. It's a really good way to wind up with, some ad-libbed terrain, as you have to then fix the oopsie that you made because you weren't really, dry fitting them together, and then you just stuck them together with cyanoacrylate, and it's not super duper forgiving. But whatever. Such is life, right?
Brian says, when you make your own terrain, it's one of a kind. That's what I like about it. Absolutely.
Correct.
Nobody is going to have that radar dish building that he made.
Correct. And sometimes
there's nobody else like that.
Sometimes that can be frustrating, though, right? Because, like, I remember when I was trying to make 40K stuff back in the day, because the other reason that I really, really like the homemade terrain is that it's no money, right? So, when I was a kid in middle school and high school trying to make 40K crap, and I didn't want to pay nutsy prices, sometimes I ran into that trouble, right? Like, you're right, it is a one of a kind, but sometimes you want to build, like, 2 of something. And it's kind of hard to say that they were built, 38,000 years into the future, but turns out their manufacturing methods are pretty screwed up. They can't build two of the same thing. But ultimately, that's a pretty small bitch, right?
Right.
Pretty
Exactly.
small, pretty small potatoes. But yeah,
So
big fan.
I just downloaded the updated version of the Cura Ultimaker Cura slicer.
Oh, I think that's what Jeff you was saying he was using. I don't remember.
And it still doesn't have the Neptune 4 Pro in it, so
Maybe
I'm
just
assuming
that.
it's going to
Maybe
come with the software.
that, or maybe it
Yeah,
is
I'm gonna-
something that comes with software. I don't know.
Yeah. But on the Neptune 3 Pro,
There you go.
it comes in at 12 hours. So it's cut 4 hours off of what the Race 3D printer did.
And does that have it? Can you look in the settings to see how many millimeters per second that's printing?
It doesn't say. It just says fast.
Fair.
It doesn't give me a actual speed.
Okay.
But they've got fine, normal, fast, and extra fast.
Okay.
And
So I would imagine with that thing, extra fast would be hovering around that 160, 170 if 180 is the max, right?
right, exactly.
So I would imagine that even at that, you're going to be able to print at a little quicker than twice that. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if 8 hours was a conservative estimate for printing one of those on a 4, which is insane.
Okay,
Then all of a
so
sudden,
I did just find. I went into custom printing or custom settings,
there you go.
and the speed is 60 millimeters per second.
Okay, so take and say that you're going to go with below the recommended slow speed on your 4, right? Say
Yeah.
you're not going to do 250. You're going to say, we'll let it take it real easy and go 240.
Yeah.
That's 4 times that. You're going to
Yeah.
take like 3.5 hours. What the fuck? Dog, that's wild.
Yeah. That's going to knock that 12-hour print to a 3 or 4 hour print.
See, that in my mind would make
That's
it
worth $100.
worth $100. Yes, because now all of a sudden, again, it's that. For me, I have the problem of, I'll get all excited. I'll plan out a project. I will spend months planning out a project, right? Get everything planned out, figure out what I need for everything, work out everything I'm going to need. And then I'll order figures. And in those 2 weeks, I don't have anything to do with it, right? Because I've already figured out what I need. Already figured out, what I want to play. I've already figured out the layout of a table I want to play. I can hit an honest to God, barrier there, because all of a sudden I'm not doing this for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I'm going to just abandon it and be done with it, but I can find it to be a little more difficult to jump back in on that project.
You're going to set it aside.
Yeah.
Go do something else.
Because I get, a week or 2 or 3 weeks to figure out I got to do something while I'm waiting on figures to come in.
Yep.
And so that's where 3D printing for me has been a huge boon at some points, right? Because I'll think, man, I want to print that out, and it's good. It was really good when I'd be working, 3 or 4 days at a time, 5 days at a time, right? Because especially once I moved over to these Elegoo machines, and they really were set it and forget it. I could think, okay, what do I want to paint this weekend, or what do I want to work on this weekend? And I could I would set something to print when I went to work. I'd get home from work, I'd take it off. I'd set something to print when I went to sleep. I'd wake up, I'd take it off, I'd go to work. And, then maybe after work, if I had some extra time, or before work, if I had some extra time, I'd take a whole bunch of prints and I'd clean them and cure them, and then they'd be ready by the time I hit that weekend. Okay, now I got 20 orcs to paint. All right. Okay, all right. That's that's nothing to sneeze at. That's a good way for me to get a lot of stuff painted and a lot of stuff done, right? Like that sort of thing makes me wish that I had 3D files for Martians and stuff like that. Granted, I bought too many damn Martians anyways. I need to paint the Martians that I've got for Space 1889. Because if Jay is if Jay's working on, steampunk and, Fistful of the Glorious Age of Steam, then I need to have enough Martians to put on a seriously jacked up bigger battles in the empty canals of Mars. But
right.
And I'm not talking about goofy John Carter stuff. I'm talking about from the warped mind of Frank Chadwick. Here we come, Mars, baby. We got big old airships and the whole 9 yards. So that maybe that's something I'll get back to working on. I've got, like I said, I've got a bunch, as you guys all know, I've got a bunch of that stuff. I do have a bunch of the terrain for that. We talked about that in passing a little bit earlier. I built a ton of, that was enough. It seems like, Chris, we were playing on a 4x4 tabletop for that game. And it seems like I had enough to cover that tabletop relatively densely with terrain.
Yes. Yeah, you did.
Because that was the objective, right? Was that here's enough for a 4x4 tabletop, knowing that at some point in time I intend to play a bigger game on Mars, but that should have been enough of the rough hill country to push that to the periphery or a ridge through the center or something like that of the table, to then have the canals and ruins and whatnot that are intrinsic to Frank Chadwick's Mars, right?
Yeah.
Which again then also goes back to the fact that we also then immediately thereafter played a Victorian airships game set in the same sort of universe on Earth that then needed zero terrain, which was nice. But yeah. Also, actually, in between that Mars Surface of Mars game was between that and us also playing Victorian airships that had no terrain on it, but they were 28 millimeters. So I guess the airships were the terrain in that, weren't they?
Yeah.
But yeah. Sorry for the jingle jangle. My apologies.
That's fine. Charles said he just remembered he's got material waiting to fabricate some wide river panels. He'd like to try and do a large inlet bay. There you go. Chris Long says he's been building his Fallujah buildings out of foam core and 3D printed stuff. I like foam core also, to be honest.
Correct. Foam core is really good for...
That's good stuff right there. Yeah, I think we lost him.
Ah, shit. Can you guys hear me?
Oh, there you are. There you are.
Okay. Yeah, foam core is
Hear you
awesome
now.
when you're going to have exposed edges, like you will on Middle Eastern buildings or something like that. When you can build, over the edge of something, when you're going to have eaved roofs or thatched roofs or something like that, then you're golden all around.
Yeah.
But yeah, foam core is super useful. Big fan of that as well. One of these days we need to just, obviously not, one of these days when, like now, I'm going to have to get off here in 5 minutes or so. But we should, sit and do this while we then build trash terrain. Not trash terrain, but upcycled terrain. While we build homemade terrain, right?
Yeah.
Random stuff, whether that's, hell, we could even go so far as to do that in a series, like, last episode of the month or whatever. Okay, it'll be a terrain day and we'll build, walls this time or trees this time or a house this time or fences this time or what have you.
Well,
you know what I mean?
So one of the things that I'm going to be working on before you take off for Wiley Wargame Weekend is I'm going to be making woods for my armored game. And what I'm going to do is I got a piece. It's going to be 6 mil to start because that's what I have now. But I got a 2 foot by 2 foot piece of Luan, and if you don't know what Luan is, it's a about 1/4 inch thick piece of plywood. What I'm doing is I'm going to use my saber saw to cut out the form, and then along the edge I'm going to take dowel rods.
Yep.
And with hot glue, stick them up, and then on top of that, I'm going to place on top of that a piece of foam core that's the same outline, not foam core, but blue foam. That's the same outline as the base. Flock the base, and then shape the blue foam. Flock it, and so it looks like a stand of trees. But you can take the top off and move your miniatures through it.
Yep.
So y'all be on the lookout for that. I'm gonna actually, I might actually document that and put it up as something on the Facebook group and the Discord to kind of show my step-by-step process there. So,
yeah, absolutely.
But, I think it's going to look good.
Nice.
What was that?
No, I was just saying the nice thing about if we do it live, or if you were to do that live, is that you don't have to worry about upload times, and you can answer questions on the fly.
True. So
yeah.
I might get everything prepared. Yeah, because I don't want to cut with the jigsaw while I'm live, because I'll blow everybody's ears out with that.
What? Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I'll have it pre-cut.
You can do the cooking show thing, right? Like where you do a step, and then when it comes to waiting, you have another piece you've already done to that step, so it's already the glue's dried, right?
Exactly.
So that's I was about to say, set it up cooking show style is how I've done that with like painting and other stuff like that before.
Yeah,
but
so maybe not this this next week, because this weekend I've got J3 in. We're gonna be playing, but maybe in 2 weeks. I guess. Man, is that gonna? Yeah, that'll be the show before Thanksgiving. It'll be the Thanksgiving special. It'll be my cooking show for the Thanksgiving special. It'll be our Thanksgiving special.
Yeah, buddy, you know it. I'll find some tanks to paint.
There you go. So, well, I'm gonna go ahead and call it. You're on your way to work, it sounds like.
Yep, I gotta get going. Love you guys.
So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and call it a show. Take care. Be safe out there, buddy. Love having you on. Want to keep you around. Go say hi to Reggie the Hood Turkey for us. Hopefully next week we'll also have McMurray back, and hopefully we'll have Reese back with us as well. So I want to thank everybody for showing up and listening to us ramble. I think we did a fairly good job of staying on topic. So yeah, keep sending topics in. We'll keep talking about them. And we will see you next week. Don't know what the topic is going to be yet, but until next time, we'll see you on the flip side.